Woof! Howdy, fellow trailhounds. You always gotta say hi when I turn the camera on. Welcome to episode 22 of Thomas the Trailhound. We have one more episode left in Act 2 of this spoken word storytelling. So, let's get started. Episode 22 The Thin Edges of City and Season. Hi. The sky couldn't decide. All morning, it traded back and forth. Blue and cold and clear one moment, then a white veil of flumes drifting through, like the season was testing the idea of itself before committing. I watched it happen the way I watch most things, from slightly below at trail level. But the wind hits different, and the world looks different, and the truth of things tend to settle before it rises. The flakes came in thin squalls, there and gone, there and gone. The old man walked through them with his face turned up slightly, receiving. Something had shifted in him since Eka left. Not grief, not loneliness. Something closer to clarification. Like a signal carrying interference for a long time. Just the two of us now. Just the trail. Just north. And the old man walked like a man who had been handed back something he didn't know he'd set down. The version of himself before the static. The world smells crowded before it looks crowded. I want you to know that long before the eye finds the power line or the distinct gray smudge of density, the nose knows exhaust and asphalt, synthetic warmth, the compressed smell of many humans generating heat and noise and the particular frequency of civilization running at full speed in a direction it stopped questioning a long time ago. It arrived sharp against the winter air, an intrusion, not hostile, just wrong frequency. The way a radio finds a station it wasn't looking for. I noted it, fouled it, kept it walking. Trail north of Virginia accumulates differently than the highlands. Less dramatic, longer rolls, miles that don't announce themselves. They simply arrive, one after another, like quiet agreements. The old man had found his rhythm in them, that particular gait that emerges somewhere after 500 miles when the body stops arguing and starts cooperating, when the pack settles into the torso, when the poles become extensions of intention, when the foot finds the ground the way a conversation finds its real subject, naturally, without forcing. He is built, I have concluded, the way a good pack is built, not for the shelf, for the weight. I match his rhythm. My short legs have their own mathematics. More steps per mile, a different relationship with the ground, but the rhythm we share. Mid-morning, the snow came in earnest. Not a storm, just honest snow, purposeful snow. Snow that had finally decided it came down in a particular silence that only snow produces, that muffling of every edge, every sound, every hard thing. And something happened in my hindquarters. I'm not proud of this. A dog has dignity to maintain. But when the real snow came, not the flurries, not the squalls, the real snow, something in my hindquarters registered it before my dignity could intervene. A small wiggle, involuntary, the kind that comes when the game stops being practiced and finally starts for real. The old man laughed, not a big laugh. He shed those somewhere south of here. This was smaller, warmer. The laughter came from the chest rather than the face. He looked down at me. I looked up at him. Yes, the moment said this. This is what we came for. I've been thinking about two kinds of suffering. The kind life imposes, that arrives without consultation, loaded by hands other than yours, heavier than it needs to be, and addressed to no one. And the kind you walk toward on purpose. The old man carried the first kind out of Georgia, somewhere on those miles in the Smokies or Damascus, or the long balls where the sky came down to ask him directly. I watched him make the conversion from enduring to choosing. And choosing hardship is an entirely different animal. Pain means something different when you walk toward it on purpose. Same cold, same miles, the same gray sky, but landed differently in the body of a man who selected it than in the body of a man who it selected. The snow kept falling. The old man kept walking. And the worse the weather got, the better his mood became. A cold day with real weather, wind, snow, particular arrival of a season without apology, produced in him joy, actual joy, the kind that requires something to push against. We crested a long ridge in the early afternoon. The snow had softened again. The sky still deciding, and the world opened west and south. And there, in the gray middle distance, was a city. Not the skyline, not yet, just the presence of it, the smudge, the density, the concentrated gray of human lives seen from a distance by someone who has been living at the speed of his own feet long enough to understand the difference. The old man stopped, simply and fully, giving the moment what it required. I sat at his left boot, and we looked together. I want to be fair. What the city holds, warmth, dry rooms, hot food brought by other hands. People who love you, people who remember who you are before the trail suggested otherwise. All of it sitting there, in the gray smudge on the horizon, reachable. The old man stood long enough for the snow to settle on the shoulders of his pack. Then he turned north. No ceremony, no speech, just the simple physics of a man who knows which direction he's going and goes there. I fell in beside him, left boot forward. At night, we made camp in the last gray light under bare trees, with the snow coming down quiet and serious now, committed at last. The sky having finally made its decision, and the old man made the fire, made the food, and sat with his cup and looked up through the bare branches at the snow coming down through the dark. Like something the sky had been meaning to say for a long time. He was smiling, not the performed smile, the private one, the one that means I am exactly where I am supposed to be. I curled up against his leg. The fire said what fires say. Here, warm, now. Snow fell on us both equally, and neither of us minded. Tomorrow, the miles continue toward the skyline, toward the last warm room, toward the threshold. We both had known what was coming since Georgia. But tonight, our souls stayed warm, and the old man smiled at the sky like an old argument finally settled in his favor. Some goals stop calling if you ignore them long enough. The worthwhile ones don't. They wait, patient as winter, certain as north. Woof. Diogenes' Trailside Reflection. There's a difference between the suffering that finds you and the suffering you walk toward. Life gives you both, without preference, without consultation, on a schedule you didn't approve and cannot appeal. But suffering you choose, the cold entered on purpose, the miles taken willingly, the difficulty selected because something on the other side matters enough. That suffering doesn't diminish you, it returns you to something prior to the masked, prior to the performances, prior to the long negotiation with a world that wanted you manageable. I have known this in training, in loss, in the long seasons of becoming someone the hard years couldn't unmake. Every tradition worth inheriting understands this, that the chosen path into difficulty is that path leads somewhere real. The other paths are comfortable. They just don't go anywhere. You haven't already been. Find your north. Walk toward it. Smile when the snow comes. Faith, family, forward always, my friends. See you again for the end of Act 2 next week. If you like my spoken word philosophical series, like, share, and subscribe to the great modern American cynic, Diogenes the dog. Woof, Diogenes.